just don't become a doctor to make money. You don't become a journalist just because you feel that the salary is going to be
correct.
I think there has to be that innate quality of kind of doing something with a purpose. There is no way you can change the habits. If the habits of people are going to be kind of looking for short content, you will have to change.
We are going to swap roles today. We are going to learn about what it takes to build Lokmat, one of India's largest media houses.
I think responsibility of a media house
Yes.
is not only to keep showing the negativity, is not just to kind of keep talking about the sensationalization part. That is, don't take me wrong, that is a large part which should be there. But if there's any wrongdoing, the media is the fourth pillar and should be able to kind of
vocal about it.
But I think in today's world, it's equally important that there is a credible voice which is bringing out all these stories for the children, for women, for youth, for everyone.
Hello everyone. Today we are thrilled to host Honorable Rishi Dadaji, the editorial director at Lokmat Media. With his experience and insightful perspectives, Rishi ji has been instrumental in shaping the editorial landscape of one of India's leading media houses, Lokmat. Join us as we explore his journey, expertise and his vision for the future of Lokmat. Welcome Rishi ji to Unfiltered Conversations, and I'm really grateful that you graciously accepted my invitation to be a part of this one. I think it means a lot to me because I wanted to learn more from you and the way I have seen you develop the whole digital space for Lokmat, and I've been seeing a lot of things you are bringing new to the table. I'm really inspired by your work and I wanted to converse with you. So thank you for coming on board. Would you like to say something to our audience?
Of course, thanks so much Devyani for inviting me. It's very rare I get invited, otherwise we are always on the other side where you get a chance to meet up people from different parts of life. So thank you for thinking about me and feeling that your audience would enjoy this talk. I'll try and do as much justice as I can to this talk. And I've met you a couple of times and the conversations just have been very inspiring and very energetic. So looking forward to the conversation.
I'm really grateful for your kind words. So I want to just get into the conversation because I'm really excited about it. How does it feel to be on the other side of the table? Because we are going to swap roles today. We are going to learn about what it takes to build Lokmat, one of India's largest media houses.
Very odd. To sit on the other side is very tough. Now I realize what people would be going through when we put them in the spot. It's always on the other side when you are preparing for the questions. You're trying to understand more about the life of the person you're going to be interviewing. To some extent, I'm feeling that now feels like an easier one than sitting and answering. But just while your team was setting up and all that, it's rare that I go through that part. So,
but I love the way you ask questions. Like I've attended a lot of events where you were asking questions to the guests, but trying to learn from you and trying to be a little bit into the space. But
I actually I enjoy this space.
Yes.
I think every time you are questioning someone, questioning is the wrong word, but when you are interviewing anybody, I think it's such an amazing way of learning about their life. And I've been blessed and I've had the opportunity to meet up with people from, from every corner. And small, big, and it's just amazing what stories come out of those conversations.
Yes. So I would like to also delve into your 20s. You were born and brought up in a family that's built legacy over the years. And when you reflect on your 20s, what were the pressures and responsibilities of constantly proving your mettle? Because you and I, we both constantly hear this term, born with a silver spoon.
Yeah. In my 20s, so early 20s for sure, there was no pressure. The pressure was only to kind of, be with your friends. I think given a choice, how all of us would want to go back to our school days, college days and enjoy that. But I think once I finished my studies, I came back, and there's a lot of responsibility. There's it's not just my dad or my uncle who've built Lokmat, and what a lovely organization they've built.
Yes.
But my granddad also, he comes from the background of, he's been a freedom fighter. He's fought with all the names that we've heard growing up.
Yes.
So there's a large part of responsibility, but more a huge purpose you see in life, that you've grown up hearing stories about your granddad, what they've done. You've seen the hard work your dad, your uncle have done. So I'm thankful for that. So I've never felt there's I think everyone gets a chance.
Yes.
We've got this chance of yes, of course, we're born with the silver spoon, but I think what I do post that with my life, hopefully that's something that would be remembered. They say कि आते हुए तो हंसता है सब. It's how you live is what becomes important.
True. I also feel that you are also building a longer table and giving a platform for new talent to get that opportunities. And that is very important for somebody on that platform, and somebody who's having that access to that. So that's the beauty of Lokmat, which I've seen. So my next question to you is that if anybody is aspiring to enter journalism, what are the 3 common traits they must have, they must adhere to?
So one, obviously, there has to be a purpose.
Correct.
Like they used to say, just don't become a doctor to make money. You don't become a journalist just because you feel that the salary is going to be good.
Correct.
I think there has to be that innate quality of kind of doing something with a purpose. There is something about, that you want to kind of go and help someone. You want to go and build stories. You want to kind of inspire someone. That should be the foundation of a person who's looking at getting into journalism.
Correct.
Because I think there are obviously much better. I think the salaries or the money that you will make in professions which are other than journalism are going to be much more.
True.
So what we call at Lokmat Patrakarita Parmo Dharma is something that you would want all your journalists to kind of work towards. So for sure, think about it, why you want to become a journalist. What's that reason that you would want to become? There has to be a passion for that. Okay.
And one more question for that Lokmat will have a rule book. So what are the 3 things they must know while Lokmat is onboarding new talent?
Good question. So one, for us, inclusiveness is very big, Devyani. And that inclusiveness means a lot of things. What religion are you coming from? What caste are you coming from? What background are you coming from? It does not matter what's your socioeconomic status. Once you have entered Lokmat, then you are working for your reader. You're not, you could have all your biases, and every journalist should have those biases. Otherwise, there's going to be no difference between one or the other. Till those biases do not start coming into your newspaper, I think that is something for sure. Inclusiveness for us is very big. Respect is second, I would put it. There was a story I've told a lot of my team members. We were having this meeting in Aurangabad, and one of the, there was somebody who had contested elections against my dad, and while talking about that person in the meeting, they spoke about him, without, he just said name, how we say G or we say anything of that sort. That was not there. So I stopped him there. I said, he must be my dad. He would have contested against my dad. But there's a reason why there are hundreds of thousands of people who stand behind him.
True.
So make sure that respect is there.
Yes.
I do not appreciate a lot of times when, when I'm seeing, say, a press conference, and I was talking to a very senior politician the other day, and I was mentioning that somebody just start asking questions, and very rudely.
Yes.
I think there is a respect that chair or that seat needs to give, and you have to be dignified in any way you build your business or you build your profession.
Correct. I think that is very important because that sets a tone for a long-term career goal, you know, if you have respect, mutual respect for that. My next question to you is that we constantly see reporters and journalists in an action-packed mode. But what drives them is the organizational structure. And how does Lokmat function?
I think just a lot of empowerment. I think there's an ownership. And this I've heard from a lot of consultants who come in, you know, as part of the organization. You keep bringing in external bodies to come audit, to keep recommend, you know, so that they can take an eagle's eye point of view and suggest that, you know, what are the changes that are required in the working. And one common thing that you'll keep hearing from all of them, whether they've come for financial, whether they've come for strategic input or any of those things, is that how driven is the team.
Correct.
And they'll say that, you know, they just feel that Lokmat ye mera hai while he is working over there, you know, and they'll fight with people. You know, if somebody, you know, if they're talking to their friends or somebody talks badly about Lokmat in front of them, they'll fight with them. I think so that sense of ownership is extremely high in a place like Lokmat. So, and I joke around with my friends. I said, you know, frankly, if I don't come, if we are not there even for a year, any of our board members, if we are not there for a year, I think there are high chances Lokmat might do very well because, you know, they are the ones who are driven, the whole team is driven, they are the ones who are actually running around, and they feel that, you know, we have to make sure that our leadership position for Lokmat continues.
But I think that's the company culture which everybody must learn and inherit, and that's how like a company, because I've seen your reels and posts where you're constantly also celebrating important occasions in our Indian culture, or if there is some achievement which is happening, which is nationwide, there has been always a post about the team Lokmat celebrating it. And that shows a lot of culture which goes behind building such a strong organization.
I think that just comes in the DNA. We've seen that happening, you know, over all these years. Our seniors have done it. You know, my older brother Devendra, my younger brother Karan. I think it just comes naturally to us to kind of, you know, be part of the lives of the team members.
Correct. When you're constantly in like a media industry and having this top tier organization, what I've seen personally about you is that you come across as a very humble person, and to be in such a thriving industry which is constantly changing, why for anybody who's entering this industry newly must stay humble, must have that humility and diplomacy at the same time to sustain?
So I don't think it's only for this industry, Devyani, and you know, means it goes for you from, you know, the background that you come from.
Yes.
I think that's true for any human being, and that's true for any industry that you are working with. A lot of times, humility gets is misjudged for not being confident.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you're being soft, because you know, you are ready to kind of bow down, you know, give respect to the person, and people feel that, you know, कि you know, ये confident नहीं है. I don't think those are two very, very different things. But I think your learning will stop if the humility goes away. As soon as you start believing that, you know, we've held our leadership position in print. We've been number one in Maharashtra now nearly for about 3 decades.
Absolutely.
We've got to a leadership position by a very large margin in our digital. All these things won't happen if you're not ready to listen to, and whoever that would be.
Correct.
He could be any stakeholder of yours. He could be a vendor of yours. He could be a reader of yours. You know, fortunately, we used to get a lot of chances to kind of go out, meet up with people in college, or meet up with just common people who are your readers, who are your readers, and they would kind of give that feedback. So I think if your ears are open, if you're ready to take that feedback, I'm sure that that improvement, you'll keep making that little tweak now and then.
Correct.
But if that, as soon as that stops, I think learning stops completely.
So I want to ask you that, considering the current landscape of traditional media and the digital media, how do you think there is a potential for, you know, the traditional media to sustain?
Yeah.
Because Lokmat has been pioneering into the digital space.
Yeah.
So how can the other traditional houses thrive?
So I think both will stay. I'll give you both the things. One, I think there's a certain culture, there is a certain responsibility that the old media comes with. And I think that would sustain.
Yeah.
Newspaper, when we talk about media, a lot of times we obviously look at the West.
Correct.
And we say, there's a downfall in the newspaper. There, the habits are changing, things like that. My belief is that digitalization happens for two reasons. One is cost, and the second is convenience. Cost, newspaper is, आपकी रद्दी की रद्दी में आप जाके जब बेचेंगे तो you'll make more money than what you're actually paying for the newspaper. So it's very cheap over here compared to in the West. Convenience, for a lot of the Western countries, you have to walk half a kilometer, you have to walk 200 meter, 300 meter to even pick your newspaper. That's not the case in India. If you've kept your living door open, the person will come inside and give you the newspaper. So it's actually coming to your home. So I think it would sustain. Whether the newspaper is continuing to understand the changing habits of your reader, that would be the question. Hopefully we are doing that at Lokmat. On the other side, digital is going to thrive. There is no doubt about it. I think that you're seeing day in, day out. The organization culture changes when you move from the old media to the newer media. There's a lot more agility. There's a lot more speed. The average age is lesser. So the expectation that you're working with the team, with somebody if you're working with someone who's about 45, 50, his life priorities are very different. Versus when you're working with somebody who's 27, 30, the life priorities are very different. So you should be able to match both of them.
You work with Gen Zs?
I work with quite a few, and they just, I think they never fail to impress you. A lot of times we'll take such a long time to maybe build a presentation or, think of a graphic or, how to approach it. And it just comes so naturally to them. And we used to be the ones who would be kind of, looking at our parents and saying, oh, how can you not use this? And now that's happening with me. Even my daughter, she's 11. And the speed with which she makes her own invitation card is surprising. So
I mean, it's rapidly changing, and you're learning so much about it.
So I actually and we make it a point that especially in our digital teams, that a large part of the teams, a lot of time the turnover is not bad.
Correct.
If you'll keep getting newer talent, and there are somebody who's 25, 26. A lot of these things come just automatically, naturally to them. They understand that part. So it's great to work with them.
So like adaptability and learning approach has to be there.
Is there.
Like I had this very interesting question that how does the revenue streams in these traditional media and the digital media work? Because that has been like a question apart from the subscriptions and everything. How does this work?
So client relationships is an important part of the revenue aspect. And that's something that we have looked at, and we've said that over a period of time. So first there was subscription, like you said, and advertising revenue.
Correct.
Over a period of time, we've moved that model to saying that I will look at revenue from a client perspective. I would not say I have the newspaper and come and advertise with me. So now what we do is we'll go to a client, we'll ask them that, what is your problem statement?
That's amazing, because that's a very new take on the revenue streams and the way we perceive it. And a lot of people are getting proactive with that approach, and concepts are constantly evolving. My next question would be that there is creator economy which is coming. And there is this digital presence. So last year, at the same time, I had attended the Creator Awards hosted by Lokmat, and it was an incredible experience for me. So can you talk about this transformation of creators, and if you see any movie promotions happening or any of the smallest of activities happening, there has been an inclination towards picking the creators first. This is the trend which I've noticed personally. So what is your take on that?
So it is growing. I think it's growing worldwide, and they say a large part of the next next part of next millionaires, billionaires would be the creators that would come in. From our point of view, we are in the media industry. Anything that our client feels would help them reach to their target audience is what we would bring together. So as a media house, if influencers is it's just a platform. The platform can be a newspaper, the platform can be a television, the platform could be an influencer. It's social media. So if it is an influencer, then we would tie up with an influencer. We would use our channels of our relationship with the clients and bring them and connect both of them together to grow the story. So actually for majority of the larger brands, we have been doing this for a very long time. Where we on one side would have our relationships, we'll sign up with the creators, we'll sign up with the celebs from the entertainment industry and marry them with the brands.
That's interesting because I didn't know about this particular aspect. And after that Lokmat Creators Awards, I saw a lot of like a pool of awards happening around creators.
I know. So we were the first ones to actually start the awards for
after that entire year I was seeing creator awards and activities happening around it. So I would like to ask you that why does, it's a very interesting question for me, why does media houses or Lokmat constantly host awards or these notable events and how to stay unbiased in that?
Maharashtra is filled with those such kind of stories, whether it's in the field of education, in the field of medical, even bureaucracy. I think business. One of our nominees started from a lower middle class. His parents were teachers. Went to a Jilla Parishad school. Today, he's doing a turnover of nearly about 800 crore rupees. Now, imagine when you bring out. I think responsibility of a media house is not only to keep showing the negativity, is not just to kind of keep talking about the sensationalization part. That is, don't take me wrong, that is a large part which should be there. That if there's any wrongdoing, the media is the fourth pillar and should be able to kind of
vocal about it.
But I think in today's world, it's equally important that there is a credible voice which is bringing out all these stories for the children, for women, for youth, for everyone to kind of read, hear, watch and get inspired by stories like these. Because, so that's a large purpose for us to do the awards. I think similar for even when we do the Creator Award. So I think certifying that a media house like Lokmat is giving an award, I think will also start pushing all the others to kind of, why can I not get it? It's happened to us when we were in schools or colleges. Every time a friend, a colleague or anyone got an award, you said, okay, that's my goal. I'm going to look for it. So I think that's how.
I think you beautifully explained this because there have been a lot of myths in the past about awards in general, that it is for the selective few. But the way you broke it down for us to know that you are utilizing the network of strong researchers which you have in your team who look out for rural talent, urban talent, to look at the credibility of that person. And then also I've seen Lokmat constantly being transparent about what is the process which is going behind that particular award. Like it's not that randomly somebody just ending up into an award function, but you also show what goes behind that. So that is beautifully explained because you've kind of broken down all the misconceptions which we usually have about awards. So that is amazing. Now I'm going to get into very interesting questions for you. So in the midst of sensational short form content, how does one strike a balance to get these complex issues, like you said, that you need to be vocal about getting the complex issues which are actually happening when there is a sensational short form content rolling in? How do you balance that out as a media house? Because everything is driven around the sensational this thing, and sometimes we miss out on the important news which must be covered.
So I don't think the format is a problem, Devyani. I think it's the quality. So there have been sensationalization even in longer format ones also. Even when if the news was for about an hour where only one person sat and put it, I think the credibility was good or was questionable. Similarly, a cricketer is good irrespective of whether you are in Test, One Day or 2020.
Yeah.
And that same way, I think it's amazing. There is no way you can change the habits. If the habits of people
Yeah.
are going to be kind of looking for short content,
Yes.
you will have to change. It's not going to be possible for you to change the
Yes.
habits of thousands or millions of people. But I think what you do not let go of are the principles for which you stand for. And that, whether it's 10 seconds, whether it's 20 seconds or 30 seconds, is fab. And I think there are some phenomenal storytellers in 30 seconds. People have built brands by telling stories in 30 seconds. I was reading the other day about a case study where this girl, if I'm not wrong, she's from China, and in 30 seconds, she shows 10 brands.
Yes, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think, what an amazing thing. She's found a niche. She's looked at it. She said, okay, this is a business model. Why do I need to even talk about a brand for 30 seconds? Here she's talking about each brand only for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So she'll show a t-shirt, she'll
It
show
is
a
done.
pair, and it's done. And that's how quick it is going. And she's helping people reach those brands. She's making money for herself. She's getting the target audience for the brand. So, it's a win-win situation. So even from the news point of view, I think, YouTube, your Facebook, we all adapted to that part. Lokmat has a large digital population on our own apps, on our website, on our video platforms, where people would come watch it. So we'll have shows which are running for about 30 minutes. There are shows that run for 15 minutes. But we are also putting out those same news that are less than a minute also.
True.
Because if the viewer or if my audience or anybody who loves the brand Lokmat wants it in that short format, I should be there.
Yeah.
And I'll adapt even going forward, whatever way. Tomorrow it could be, we were used to watching it on a large screen.
True.
It's come to maybe
a
like a phone this size. Tomorrow you'll have to start giving your news on the phone, on your watch.
Correct.
I think you'll have to adapt to that.
My other question would be that, example, if there is a celebrity wedding happening and there is a very important situation happening in the rural context, how, sometimes the information gets missed out. So how does one balance that out?
I think it creates, I think it's more of the perception part. I think because now, earlier there were, you would have read 2 newspapers.
Correct.
Maybe you would have looked at 3 news channels, or you would have looked at 4 news channels. I think now you're looking at 100 different people, and out of those 100, 80 of them might be talking about the celebrity wedding.
Yeah.
So the 20 who are actually talking about what's happening, let's say today was the budget, or the elections, or if there's an unfortunate incident that's happened, I think those 20 or 10 are talking about it.
Correct.
But at times it becomes difficult to kind of separate noise from the content.
I feel that it is not just a media house's responsibility, but it is equally the responsibility of the viewers to have that balance and understand what is happening in our country, to be vocal and informed about what happens on ground. We can't just virtually be interested in slice of life content or something which is just for entertainment purpose. I think we have to be well informed about various aspects of what happens in our country and beyond. I think the way you said about the learning aspect also, we need to be constantly learning, and that's how I think we both can navigate through this misinformation and disinformation which happens.
Well said.
So my other thing, moving on to the incidents of deepfakes in the AI space which is happening, how can journalism effectively combat this situation? Because I have seen that people and journalists always verify information, but then when there are deepfakes happening or things like that, how do we be responsible towards that? What is the solution?
So I think any technology that would come up, Devyani, will have its negatives. Even when internet would have come in, my belief, I'm trying to remember what was those initial days. I remember we were in college and that VSNL T and all that, used to come. I think there were enough negatives where the parents wanted to keep you away from the internet, that you don't go on the wrong sites. I think over a period of time you started realizing that there's so much of good stuff which is also there on internet, how life started becoming easier with the net, and then it just became a part of your life.
Yeah.
I think any of these technologies will go through that same phase. I think the only difference is going to be the number of years.
Yeah.
I think if internet took about 30 years to reach our palms, artificial intelligence or deepfake or any of these kind of things might happen in 3 years or 5 years. So I think just being careful of that what is right for you, what is wrong for you, and just not in the media sector. I think that's going to be true for as the consumerism increases.
Yeah, true.
You are going to be available with every possible thing on your kirana, around in your education books, in everywhere. I think just to kind of your parents or we as parents should be able to kind of let our children know what's right, what's wrong.
Correct.
I think that's how. But I think you cannot stop any technology. Let's say if deepfake, I know in the recent past, all the 2-3 incidents that we've heard are the negative ones. But if that's a trend that will pick up, you won't be able to stop it.
True, that's true.
I think the only way is going to be, like I've said, I think you have to be clear about your principles. That this is how I will continue to do my journalism. That's how I will continue to build my business. And all these distractions will come in, but you'll focus on the good part of the technology.
I think with when it comes to education also, regarding that, you spoke about children, that children also be informed about them. Like you can't hide away these things from children, because they are going to be constantly adapting to the changes which are happening around you. So in the educational institutions and everything, if we start informing children about these are the things which we can positively utilize, and these are the things that will also create a big impact.
For sure. Imagine, like, say if 10 years back or even 15 years back, if people spoke about that we are going to be giving phones to our children, it would have been out of question.
Yes.
Now that doesn't look like a surprise.
Correct.
A lot of parents, for whatever reasons, convenience, safety, security, for whatever reason, today a lot of the 10-year-old, 12 years old, 14-year-old are moving around with a cell phone.
Yeah.
So there's just no way you can stop technology.
Yes.
I think what you can limit yourself is what we'll have to keep looking at.
So there's one report which I recently had studied. It's by the World Economic Forum, and it said that has ranked India at the highest risk of disinformation and misinformation. And in this context, what is your opinion on the role of the mainstream media, and some suggestions for being diplomatic in this scenario of misinformation and disinformation, like being just sharing information and information which is useful for them, because this has been like a rising concern in today's times.
So I think similar kind of a thing, that I think just there's going to be a lot of content that's out there. The verification is something that even Lokmat does, before putting out the news. It's just part of the DNA, coming from maybe the traditional part of it. It's just built into every journalist of ours, that you cannot post it and then question it.
Correct.
It's all right not to be in the game of breaking news. It's all right to come second. It's all right to kind of lose out that one battle. But credibility will not be built in that 1 month. Credibility will take a certain amount of time, where people say, okay, if Lokmat's published it, if Lokmat's put it on their social media channel, if Lokmat's put it on their platform, then it is correct. And I think that takes time. So to continuously keep doing it day after day, month after month, is how all the media houses will have to look at, and not be driven only by what's my what my viewership is, how much how many clicks am I getting, what's my TRP. I think that cannot be the driving point.
Is it like because of the constant pressure of competition, or?
Of course there is, like, as in the competition. Earlier the reports used to come once a year.
True.
then it started, for television, it started coming every week. The TRPs would come every week. Today, on your digital, it's available on a daily basis. So if there's a target, if you missed out on that, 1 day number, you are going to be catching up on the second day number. So that, I think the competition's always going to be there. If you as a leader are driven by numbers, if that's the only thing you are pushing, then in any business, if let's say if you are running an FMCG business, if you're running any of the business and you keep asking what's my sale, the person's going to look for ways to kind of increase the sales, even if he has to reduce the quality.
Correct.
I think if you're able to ask the right 3 questions or 4 questions on what has happened today, what's it's not just the number. I think then you are not pushing the team only to do something wrong.
So in this current context where the people in general are missing or losing trust from the mainstream media, or they sometimes feel that it is constantly biased towards the current times. What would be the one line which you would say to build or gain back that public trust?
Never generalize.
Yeah.
I think that's something I would tell everyone. I tweeted also about it some time back, when there was an important person who had put out a tweet against the media. And I went back and I mentioned it. I said that, let's say if a cricketer is caught doing, match fixing, you do not say that all the cricketers are match fixers. If a person from a certain community has done a fraud, you don't say everyone in that community is a fraud. So do not generalize anytime. If you want to talk about media, shout out, take that person, take that anchor's name, take that journalist's name, take that media house name, and say that you are wrong over here, instead of saying that everyone is wrong.
I think over here, I'd like to add from a viewer's perspective that I constantly look out at various pages and platforms. I usually opt for digital platforms to read information. Never react in first go when you see an information. Always go and do your own research while proving that this is right or wrong. Because you never know what is the story behind that person who is being taken down, or what are the aspects. So you need to constantly look out for relevant resources to prove that this is a right sort of information. I think
observation without judgment is the best way of intelligence. So you're right.
So you can't put your opinion until you have a perspective or information about that. I've seen a lot of times that from my generation or anybody constant, they are the first ones to just pinpoint something or share it on media before even doing that research or background check whether this is right or wrong. So you have to look at it in a bird's eye view of what exactly is happening. Give it some time, give 3 days or 2 days, and then you will obviously get to know that this is the situation which is happening. You can't just jump onto the thing or blindly believe in something.
I wish I could say that both of us are from the same generation, but we are not. And imagine the responsibility and the power your generation has. Your generation also has, I'm just feeling it odd saying your generation, because they've been, we've just been hearing it so much for us, but I'm 45 and there's a large gap between the newer generation that's coming in. Y'all have the power of moving mountains, and the revolutions have been created in countries, revolutions have been created, even if it's a smaller way, for companies, brands, celebs, personalities to take back of what they were talking or change the way they were behaving. I think that's such a large power that this generation's been able to create, and I think that's phenomenal. So I love that aspect of I think these I think there's a lot of responsibility this generation already has. It's just that a lot of times we keep comparing it with the earlier generation. ऐसा होता था, ये होता था.
Yeah.
their way of showing love, their way of showing respect, their way
Yes.
of showing anger is different than how it used to be earlier.
Correct. And I think when I hang around with Gen Zs or, like my generation, I see that there is very less judgment. There is lesser judgment of the way you look, the way you talk, or they want to know more about what you can learn from that person, what are the things which are happening across. They are more conscious about what is happening in our planet, all sorts of things. So I think that is beautifully
you're right. I think this generation's a lot more concerned citizen than the earlier one. I've got no doubts. I think that's
so that
well
is
put.
that's a shift I have been noticing about that. And like I have seen 12-year-olds knowing about sustainable development goals. They know about these are the things they need to voice for. So that is amazing. And this was my last question, and I'm going to move into the rapid fire.
Come on, man, don't put us in a spot. That's a tough one.
Yeah, so this time I'm going to ask you, what are the 3 myths about media you would like to burst?
Not all the media are the same. Another myth is that it's a very boring place. I think media is just a very exciting space to be in.
It's the most exciting space to be in. They are the first one to know everything.
And also the people that you meet.
Yes.
You don't get that chance to, in any other place.
What's the weirdest or funniest news headline you've ever come across?
I'm not going to name the channel, but for the longest time, every night they used to run 2012 mein ये दुनिया होगी खत्म. And there used to be a Baba who used to come and who used to talk about, ki why the world is going to come to an end. So I think that whole series, I think, was weird, funny, and completely wrong.
Yeah, and then I think I believed it also. Then I have less time with me. If you were stuck on an island with Elon Musk and Donald Trump, one question you would ask them.
Why does Elon Musk back somebody like Donald Trump? There's one's just a genius, and I think his love for Donald Trump is known to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Define yourself in one word.
Learner. I'm a student.
Yeah. Student for life. So this was it, and I absolutely loved and learned so much from you today. What is that one thing you liked about this conversation?
Just how casual this was. Frankly, I can't remember the last time I was giving an interview and I've been so frank, open. It just felt like a conversation. There was no pressure.
Yeah.
This was just beautiful. Really enjoyed it.
Any feedback for us?
Oh, please, nothing. Means I'm genuinely, I'm going to take that, how you were not flipping your pages. You knew your questions well. You knew what the next question was going to come. You were adding to the statements that I was making. So it was just perfect. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. So another question to you is, in the midst of...
How do you remember so many questions, man? Like you're on it, like you're just not taking a break, like you are... That's phenomenal.